You're listening to the Morning Punch-In Show with RB and Jae, live and direct from more cities than an Instagram model's bio. Get ready for some boxing talk on the clock. Let's face it, you're not working and somebody's got to pay for the Wi-Fi.
Good morning, everybody. It is RB and Jae. This is the Morning Punch-In Show, the most unpredictable, unscripted, but always real morning boxing talk show in the game. Today's Monday, June 19th, 2017. Let me introduce my partner in crime, the creator and founder of BadCulture.net, contributor for Black Sports Online, Jay LaBeouf. What's good, Inglewood?
What's good, RB? Good morning and happy Monday. We are back with Ward Kovalev 2 in the rearview mirror. Wow, we're going to get into that. That's going to be a big part of the show today. But before we kick it off, last week we talked about the young gun, Daniel Franco, who Ward actually dedicated the victory to, still in a coma. Some good news for him. He's starting to be responsive, giving his family thumbs up and responding to questions. So keep him in your prayers. He has come a long way, but he's still got a long way to go. So keep him in your prayers. Hot question. We got a lot of hot questions to talk about. Probably it's going to mostly be about Ward Kovalev, but here's what I want to know. Instead of firing off a hot question today, I want everybody to call in 718-508-9852. We want to know if you thought the stoppage was suspect. We want to hear about the low blows. We want to hear about the rabbit punches. We just want to hear from you, as many people possible, to sign off about Ward Kovalev, because we're going to talk about it and break it all the way down. RB was there for the final press conference and the fight. Oh, man, RB, I know you got a lot for us.
Yeah. When we were out here in November, Jay, we felt that the promotion was a little off. Well, this time it was so bizarre. I mean, you felt the tension in the air. You know that they genuinely hate each other. Rock Nation and Main Events, they do not get along. It did affect the entire promotion. It affected people in the media room. I mean, we're sitting there and we're kind of like a little uncomfortable. We're talking quiet to each other. I mean, it felt like everybody was really walking on eggshells. It was just a really weird promotion from beginning to end. It really was.
Such a creepy vibe and such a shame. Such a great fight. And sometimes a little animosity can build up a really terrific event. But in this case, the lines were clearly drawn in the sand, and we all felt like the children in an ugly divorce. That's how I felt about this whole promotion. Like, do we want to go with mom? Do we want to go with dad? They both kind of pissing us off right now, but we're going to watch it anyway because we don't have a choice. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, if we want to jump right into it, Jay, like she said, we do want to hear from you guys today. The fight was stopped. Kathy Duva is now going to file a protest because she said it was, a bunch of low blows, that Tony Meeks didn't do his job. She exploded about this at the press conference, and I know she has to ride for her fighter. But what did you guys feel about the stoppage? So please call in. Andre Ward said at the press conference, okay, if we're going to talk about the low blows, then we got to talk about the rabbit punches too. So call in. Let's talk about it all. 718-508-9852. Press 1 so that Jay can see you in the switchboard, and she'll know to pick you up if you guys want to speak your piece.
Amen. And it's a lot of pieces to be spoken. You guys were so lit on social media. I had a good time tweeting with you guys just to see some responses. Some responses that usually are really anti-Ward were okay with the stoppage. Some of the people who were really anti-Kovalev thought the stoppage was too soon, including my own brother, who texted me and lit me up talking about it. Stoppage was too soon. And I know my brother is not a Kovalev fan at all. So I thought, wow, this is a really, really polarizing outcome, almost more so than the first fight. Maybe they do need to run it back. We know they're not, but maybe they should, just because of the controversy.
Well, when Jake Donovan calls in this morning, probably around the 15-minute mark, he spoke to Bob Bennett and about how the Nevada Commission is going to treat the potential protest. On top of that, there was some controversy in the Rigondeaux Flores fight, which I'm still confused about that.
Me too.
So hopefully Jake could tell us what the status is of that, because all of a sudden instant replay is the new wave in boxing, right? I never seen all this instant replaying and everything. Is it going to be a non-contest? Should it have been a disqualification? Should they have given Flores a couple minutes to recover? Was he acting? I saw guys like Terrence Crawford and other fighters all over Twitter saying that boy was faking. I didn't think he was faking. Was he? I don't know.
I don't know if he was fake. He looked like he got mollywopped because let's remember who he's fighting. He's fighting Rigondeaux. And here's the thing that really killed me. Like you said, I guess instant replay is the whole wave, but I almost felt like they were killing time. Like Ward and Kovalev were like, oh, shit, we starting too soon. And they had to do this long drawn. Now, you either saw it or you didn't. How long does it take to make a decision? And I mean, quiet as it's kept, it wasn't that crowded in there. You should have been able to hear the bell. I thought it was after the bell, personally, but I mean, I wasn't there on TV. Maybe it's a delay. I don't know. It looked like the punch came after the bell to me.
It's really hard for any athlete, whether you're a football player, a baseball player, to just stop in your tracks. That's why baseball players like slide into second base and they slide into home plate, right? Because it's not like you could just stop. So sometimes it does happen. Sometimes you get hit after the bell. Maybe you're in the middle of a combination. You just can't stop in your tracks. But that's where the ref comes in. And that's where he goes, that's where he should have said, okay, it was after the bell. Give him 5 minutes to recover, or make it a no contest if he couldn't go on. But, okay, so before Jay calls in, Jay, we were really looking forward to Ward Kovalev. And last week it was announced that the Mayweather-McGregor fight is set for August 26th. Did that announcement swallow Ward Kovalev, or did it help Ward Kovalev? What do you think, Jay?
I think it screwed it all the way up. Because once people started talking about this, it distracted them from the whole shenanigans. It just overpowered the whole show. And nobody wanted to talk about anything but that nonsense. And I felt sorry for this event because, again, it's a great fight, but, you can't steal the thunder from Floyd. You can't get too much attention, so had to make that announcement right then. Floyd all over the place on red carpets and here and whatnot, so I think it overshadowed it.
Yeah, I think it did too. The Ward Kovalev fight should have probably been billed as, a potential fight of the year fight, and it really wasn't because there was such relatively low promotion, but you did have two of the elite pound for pound fighters fighting Saturday night, and it was pretty sad. Now, they did announce the attendance at the fight, Jay. They said over 10,000 people were there. I was there, and first of all, during the undercard, nobody was there, but we know it's typically empty. But even when Rigondeaux was fighting, the place looked kind of empty. The Ward fight, yes, it did fill in a little bit. I think they moved some people down. Unless they were out there literally giving away thousands of tickets, I don't know how they came up with that $10,000 person number. I'm not saying there weren't 10,000 people in there, but right before that Andre Ward fight, there was probably like 3,000 people in there.
They did some not wide pans on the screen. We know they weren't going to do it like that. Well, they did. First of all, whoever was on the camera for the HBO stream, that was the most garbage camera work. HBO got nothing but love for you, but whoever was working the camera for the weigh-in and for the live stream, get them together, please. Get them a new lens that moves automatically, a little slicker. But besides all that, there were a number of people who were in my timeline or got retweeted into my timeline who were attending the fight. And they were taking pictures and posting them on Twitter, and I ain't seen no 10,000 people in the T-Mobile Arena for that fight. I'm not being a hater, but I know what my eyes were seeing on Twitter in terms of how the people were sitting in the bowl or how the setup was. And it didn't look like 10,000 people to me. You were there in person. It did not look like 10,000 people to you. So however they came up with this number, it's whatever.
So before we really break down Ward Kovalev, because I know that's what everyone's anxious for, let's just give you some of the undercard results. Rigondeaux did knock out Flores. They gave him the knockout in the first round. We're going to talk a little bit more about that with Jake Donovan today because I still think that they got it wrong even after watching the replay. So we're going to see where that is at with the commission. On the undercard, Bivol won by TKO in the 4th round, and Luis Cuba Arias won by TKO in the 5th round as well. So good breakout fight for him. He's been through a lot. Remember when he was at TMT and Mayweather Promotions, and then they sent Jay Leon Love over to fire him at the gym, and that boy's been through a lot. So good for Luis Arias. Yeah. Across the street, Golden Boy did a show Saturday night too. Fidel Maldonado Jr. took home the big win in Texas, and he's now the new WBC super lightweight champion. He got the split decision over Pablo Cesar Cano.
I hope if anything happened other than that, I would have been like, what is going on over there? So congratulations to Fidel.
Yeah. So let's just talk about what happened with Ward Kovalev. So I think it is time to give Ward his props, Jay. He moved up to 175. He moved up to 175 and fought the best guy at 175. There's no denying that. It was really funny at the post-fight press conference. They asked him about Adonis Stevenson. And he said, honestly, I think Adonis, disqualified himself. He's like, I moved up to 175, and I fought the best man there. Why would I fight Adonis? It would have to make sense, and I just don't think that makes sense. They were talking about moving up to cruiserweight, heavyweight. Virgil Hunter, Jay, calm down here. Well, I'm about to say something that might get you a little upset. Virgil Hunter is talking about moving up to heavyweight and fighting Anthony Joshua. He said that there is something in Anthony Joshua that he sees. He says, I don't know, I just see things other people don't see. There's something in Anthony Joshua that I see. There's something in Anthony Joshua that I see that I know Andre could beat him. Andre could outbox him and beat Anthony Joshua, and everybody in this room is going to think I'm crazy. But I know Andre up at the podium sweating with a damn rag talking about Jesus, Virgil.
Right.
Whew, this is what we do. See, this is what Virgil does. So anyway, the fight was really good, Jay. The first few rounds, we got another really good fight. You could see that Kovalev was tiring out. He admitted that at the press conference that he did get tired. He said he didn't know why, but Ward gutted this guy. He had him hunched over. I think he broke Kovalev down mentally and physically. I do think that Andre Ward is now the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world.
Oh, okay. I'm going to work my way back from Virgil Hunter saying that he wants him to fight Anthony Joshua. Okay, let's start with that. That's cool and all, and bravo, Virgil, for having the utmost confidence in your fighter, but slow down. He just barely looked finally comfortable at 175 pounds. Anthony Joshua is like 245 pounds. Let's let Dre test the water a little more at 175 or cruiser. I don't think he needs to leapfrog. Now, back to Andre Ward being the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter. I agree. I absolutely agree. This victory Saturday night firmly put him in that position. He looked really good. He looked filled out, he looked strong, he looked powerful, and he was giving Kovalev that work. I don't care if you don't like Andre Ward or you love Kovalev, you have to admit he was hitting Kovalev with some heaters. Damn the low blows. It was the high blows that was breaking him down too. And he really looked right. He looked great. It was almost shocking. I never thought he looked bad. But the Andre Ward that showed up Saturday night looked amazing. He looked like a killer.
We've seen Andre Ward for years fight pretty much with one hand, his left hand. It's always his jab, his hook. And his right shoulder must be feeling better, or he must have done something because he was popping that right hand, landing that right hand, using his right hand a lot more. His mobility looked really good. He's just so complete, and he is a precise fighter. He's very technical. He's not the most flashiest fighter, but what does that really mean? Flashy doesn't really mean technique. He's never missed weight. He's a true professional. He's always in dog-ass shape. You can't really take much from him. People like to criticize Andre Ward. They search for his technical flaws. They talk about him being a jerk to the media. He doesn't sell a lot of tickets. He's not a marketable fighter, yada, yada, yada. Well, stay tuned to the end of the show because I got some word on the curb that might blow your mind. Anyway, back to the fight. Just some details. There is no rematch clause in the contract for that Ward Kovalev 2 fight, which I'm glad because I don't think we need to see it for a third time. Commission for the low blows and the stoppage itself. Again, we want you guys to sound off on this. Press 1 if you want to, jump on and talk to us. What are some of the other specifics? A rematch clause, following the protest, the promotion itself, Jay, like I said, it didn't feel like a big fight atmosphere. Typically when we go to these pay-per-view fights, we like to get dialed up and get our makeup done, and that wasn't the feeling that I had, like as Raging Babe. It was just like, I'll just get dressed and go to the fight. That was kind of like the ambiance that was out here. So right. I don't know where Rock Nation goes from here as a promoter. I just, you said a couple things that you said while you were out there that I just absolutely love. First, the troll in me, and yes, I do have a little troll in me too. I loved when you were tweeting from the press conference when you said that he didn't see Adonis Stevenson as a credible opponent. I had to retweet you and tag him in it. Yeah. I think it's very clear that I'm not a fan of Adonis Stevenson. I agree, he's not qualified, but I bet you now that he's seen Kovalev take 2 L's, will probably get that fight now because that's just how he gets down. That's number 1. Number 2, that big fight atmosphere is absolutely correct. I looked at how a lot of the media people I know, besides you, were dressed for the fight. People were going to like polos and jeans, and that's how you go to the StubHub for a fight because it's outside. And it's no disrespect to the combatants. I just don't think – I agree with you when you say that it's like they do it for a hobby. Like, oh, we got a little extra money. Let's just, let's see if we can have a little fight or something, like it's a potluck. And I just don't think that they give it that full zest and that full commitment and the love and that it deserves because it is not their main thing that they're interested in. It's music and then it's all the other sports and then boxing is like the stepchild. So – I can't wait for you to drop the word on the curve later on the show. Yeah, and it'll be interesting. They paid Andre Ward $6.5 million. We're going to talk to Jake here. Let's pick him up here in the next minute or so. But we're going to talk about the purses, how these fighters got paid, what does it mean for Rock Nation, what does it mean for main events and Kovalev. So why don't we go ahead and bring on Jake Donovan? All right, let's do it.
You're rocking with the Morning Punching Show with RB and Jae, and now it's time for Jake's Take.
Shit. I got to give you
Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
All right, what's going on?
Woo! A little bit of everything, and we've been trying to recap here and give our most authentic reactions to the Ward Kovalev 2 fight. There was some stuff on the undercard. So I want to kind of start there with the Rigondeaux Flores decision. Do you have any updates from the Nevada State Commission whatsoever on how they're going to rule that fight? I was confused during the decision. It took them quite a long time, and they ruled it a knockout. Is it going to stay a win for Riggy?
My understanding is that no, it will not say win for Rigondeaux, unfortunately. Another first-round knockout he could have recorded, and it's probably going to be a no contest. I actually spoke with Nevada State Athletic Commission Executive Director Bob Bennett over the weekend, and he didn't give me specifics on. Obviously, he's not going to tell me how they're going to rule, but he did say that discussions took place when they reviewed the fight at ringside at the, when they called for the instant replay. Apparently, they reviewed it without audio, which is silly because the whole dispute was, did he hit him after the bell? So why would you review a fight without audio if you can't hear a bell? So that's why the decision stood that night. So they are going to review the fight in full with audio. Once that happens, it is going to be overturned to a no contest. It can't be a disqualification because the referee didn't rule it as a foul at the time of the blow. It's going to be kind of like when Francis Barthélemy knocked out Eugenio Mendez in their first fight. That punch landed after the bell. The referee ruled the knockout. They Mendez's team appealed it, and then like 3 weeks later, they decided it was a no contest. Because I thought Barthélemy got a little bit screwed because he was actually he threw a punch and was in the process of throwing a second one when the bell rang. In this case, Rigondeaux's punch clearly launched after the bell and landed way after the bell. I mean, this is a good 3-4 seconds after the bell. So this is a no-brainer. It will be a no contest. I'd be
damn
utterly
Draculich.
It would be the upset of the year if the knockout stood. I'll put it that way.
Goddamn Draculich.
The refs had a really hard time Saturday night. So we move on to Ward Kovalev 2. The fight was stopped. Now look, we all saw that Kovalev, he was hurting before the body shot. He was gassing out. Mm-hmm. I think it was coming regardless. How'd you feel about the stoppage, and any word on what's going to happen? We know that Kathy Duva is going to file a protest, and she, for the low blows and the stoppage.
Right. I am going to go linear on this one. Let's go with the stoppage itself. I thought it was a horrible stoppage. Tony Weeks was in perfect position to where once Kovalev was sat down on the ropes, he could have used that to say the ropes held him up. Even if it didn't, he could have said the ropes held him up and ruled it a knockdown right then and there. That gives him 8 seconds to assess Kovalev, and then, maybe, Kovalev is trying to sell him on a low blow. If he stays down, you count him out. And then Kathy Duva still files a protest. The fact that he stopped it when he did only adds yet another layer of controversy to the series that just won't go away. Mm-hmm. My opinion, what troubled me is that the punch, I thought it was a borderline punch only because Tony Weeks actually told him in the beginning of the fight that Kovalev's trunks were high. He pointed just below Kovalev's belt line and said, this is a legal blow. Now, it's just like in baseball. When you hit a ball, even if a smidget of it only hits the foul line and the rest of it hits foul territory, if chalk pops up, it's a fair ball. So Ward's punch, yes, it probably hit Kovalev low, but part of it did hit the bottom of the belt line, which, in my opinion, makes it a legal punch. My problem is the fact that after that, Ward immediately leaned in with his shoulder, which is what caused Kovalev to sink into the ropes. That and Kovalev obviously being exhausted by that point. Mm-hmm. So that in and of itself was a foul that was missed. It wasn't a good job at all by Tony Weeks, who's normally a very solid referee. At one point, he was one of the very best referees. It just seems like all of the officials in Vegas are getting old together. We've seen a lot of strange decisions, 2 in one night now.
Yeah, that was bad.
I thought Tony Weeks handled it very poorly, especially for someone. And he sets the bar pretty high as far as officials go. So in that regard, it was an awful call. In regard of just any official being in a position to make that call, I thought it was a bad job by Tony Weeks. So Kathy Duva has every right to protest the decision. I would even, if they asked me to testify, not that they would, but if they called me in as a credible witness, I would say, I thought it could be argued that it was an illegal blow, but the fact that Ward shoved him in, and that's what caused Kovalev to go to the ropes and Weeks to call the stoppage, maybe that gets overturned to no contest. I don't think it will, and Bob Bennett wouldn't commit to an answer on it, but the sense I got in speaking with him is that the decision will stand, that Andre Ward will walk away with an 8th-round knockout, which is probably the right call. I mean, given what, it's like a murder trial. If you don't have reasonable doubt, you can't convict. And here it's, if all they're arguing is that the final knockout blow was a low blow, they're not going to win that battle. And I'm going to say this. Even if they win the battle, it's like, what's Kathy Duva's endgame here? All they've spoken about is how much they hate dealing with Rock Nation sports. I have all the sympathy in the world for her. It had been a miserable experience. I wish Main Events was the lead promoter for this. They weren't. Yeah. So even if the decision gets overturned, does that mean we now get a 3rd fight? How many failed promotions do we need to see in this series?
Yeah, and I was saying earlier there was no rematch clause, so I don't think we want a 3rd fight in this. But this is a really good transition, Jake, because where does Rock Nation go from this fight, and where does Main Events go now? We heard Andre Ward say that he doesn't think Adonis Stevenson is even a credible opponent for him now, but Rock Nation paid him a guaranteed of $6.5 million. We know the pay-per-views aren't going to be, astronomical numbers. What happens to Rock Nation? Before we even talk about Main Events and Kovalev first, I'm pretty sure Rock Nation's in the red. Is it true that they might actually walk away soon?
There are heavy rumors. I mean, that is the case. If Michael Yormark wants to stay in the boxing business, he's going to stay in the boxing business. He's not going to allow anyone to force him out. I mean, the size of his ego, he's going to walk away when he's good and ready, even if Rock Nation blows through hundreds of millions of dollars, which it may already have. It's, 2 or 3 years of existence. There's heavy rumors that the PR team is on its way out. It was just a strange fight week where, like, even Main Events are saying, you guys are the lead promoters. Where's the press releases? Where's the photos? How come there's no weights? They're the ones sending out press releases, even though it wasn't their job.
We didn't even get a post-fight wrap-up from them. Did you?
Well, Marina did send one, I think, at some point on Sunday. It was funny because they actually sent 2. Main Event sent their own version, which said Sergey Kovalev was TKO'd by low blows. I thought that was an extremely poor taste. Even worse, they put Ellen Haley's name on it. And I've known Ellen for a long time. I know for a fact she didn't write that press release. But
I'm sorry, I cackled when I got it. When I saw the subject line, I said, "Woo,
I did too. I
laughed.
It was one of the. I just shook my head. But I get their viewpoint. I just thought it was a little unprofessional as far as press releases go. But
right.
As far as Rock Nation, RB, you said it though. I mean, the fact that Luis Arias finally got a big win. I mean, I love that kid. He's a terrific amateur who just never caught his big break in the pros. Now he finally caught one. But it's like, yeah, what can Rock Nation do with him next? Are they going to keep sticking him on cards in Louisville, Kentucky until they're ready to, put him in prime time? I can't imagine them winning too many HBO dates, with the way they're doing business. So, if Andre Ward is in it for the long haul, then, I guess they have somewhat of a future. Not if he's going to go race to heavyweight in the next fight, which I certainly doubt is the case.
How many fights did he have under his contract with Rock Nation? Because I feel like his contract is up because he fought Kovalev twice and he fought, I don't know, the Alexander brand guy, right, with them. Or I think he's fulfilled his contract, technically.
My understanding is I don't know the terms between him and Rock Nation. What I think is the case, though, is a lot of people are confusing his contract with Rock Nation with his contract with HBO. Before Ken Hirschman left, his final FU to the boxing community was, we just signed Andre Ward to, a 3-fight deal. It's going to end with him fighting Sergey Kovalev, but you got to take 2 crap fights in the meantime. So, to my understanding, his contract with HBO is up, but that doesn't necessarily mean it runs parallel with his deal with Rock Nation. So, Yormark is on record saying that they have a long-term deal together. Andre Ward certainly didn't speak to the contrary on that. Maybe he won't. Maybe he has something up his sleeve. He just doesn't want to talk publicly about it, but my understanding is the 2 contracts weren't one and the same. So he can walk away from HBO if he wants to, although I don't know where he's going to go if he's going to stay with Rock Nation. But, to answer your question, what's Rock Nation going to do? I mean, right now it's all about Andre Ward because they don't really have anyone else in their stable. So the question is, what is Andre Ward going to do? You look around now. If he doesn't fight Kovalev, which none of us want, they have to look across the street. Jay-Z and Al Heyman now have to do business because any light heavyweight that's worth fighting is with Al Heyman, maybe with the exception of Dimitri Bivol. And Bivol, by his own admission, said he's not ready for a fight like that for another year or so. He wants to have at least 20 fights before he steps up to that level.
Well, we know that Andre Ward is now a very, very rich man. We also know that Kovalev is not a rich man right now because when they put out the purses, the line for his purse was blank. His purse was based on ticket sales and pay-per-view sales. That was another part, I think, of his frustration when he found out that Andre Ward was getting 6.5 and he's getting 75% of what Main Events is going to make.
Yeah.
Crazy. How does that deal even happen? Like, did HBO they didn't want to kick in money? Did Kathy not have enough bargaining power? How was that his deal?
I don't understand that. Kathy, I don't know what prompted them to take that deal, especially given that the first event just wasn't a financial success by any stretch. You knew the second one. I mean, unless you really thought the controversial decision was going to sell it even a little bit more, you still got to sell enough pay-per-views and tickets to clear Ward's purse. So Ward's purse is $6.5 million. With the cut that the distributors take, I mean, you basically have to sell $13 million in pay-per-views just to clear that purse before, Sergey sees anything. I mean, maybe there's a separate deal where, Andre got a certain portion of the money and then Sergey gets some of the money. So, I'm sure he's going to walk away with something. It's not like he's walking away with rabbit ears in his pockets. But it was just a strange deal to cut, I mean, for a fight like this. I mean, if you're fighting, Anthony Joshua or something, it's, of course, then, sure, I'll take no person fight for the upside. But, a fight where it's not going to sell, it was a strange deal. And I hate to say this, I really like the people at Main Events. I respect all the work that Kathy does. She's very passionate about the sport, but just watching that fight on Saturday night, I just feel like the company's just kind of grown old together. It's like they're not ready for the next level. It's like, I know you're going to talk about, Bob Arum and everything he's got going on in the near future. It's like Top Rank just seems to stay ahead of the curve, where Main Events was always adamant about, putting all its eggs in one basket, saying, HBO is the only game in town. Well, guess what? They're not. They definitely, even with the few fights they're putting on, they still don't have enough to go around. So it's just,
I really want to be super authentic here about Kovalev and his career, and I don't want to hurt feelings because I love everyone over at Main Events too, and this really doesn't have to do with them necessarily. He fought his first 17 fights for free. Over in Russia, he fought for free. And you look at how good he is and his accomplishments, and he just doesn't make the right amount of money for that, in my opinion. No. And he's legitimately crazy. He will go in there and try to murder you. Then he
Right.
fights on pay-per-view for a percentage of a show that just wasn't promoted well. That's not main event's fault. But,
No.
that kind of stuff for him. His opponent, Andre Ward, is probably going to make 6 times more than him on this show.
Right.
Andre made $6.5 million. I'd be surprised if Kovalev makes $1 million.
Yeah, same here. And, for everyone who said Kovalev was classless and professional when he walked out on Thursday's press conference, here's what's up. The man trained for about 2 months at least for this fight. I'm sure he stayed in shape in between the fights. So he's at the point where, his brain is just wacko, just waiting to make weight so he can finally eat. Then he finds out, the money, first disparity. Let me tell you, I challenge anyone to go to work for 2 weeks and then find out the day before payday that you're not getting a paycheck unless, the company clears a massive profit. Then tell me how, professional you're going to be at work. That's the situation you got to put these boxers in. They go through hell. Yeah. Boxers historically have gotten bent over and raped by promoters, managers, and just anyone that could stick their hands in their pockets.
Yeah.
So I had no problem with what Sergey Kovalev did on Thursday. I mean, the whole promotion was unprofessional. I mean, so why pick on Kovalev walking out of a press conference? He spoke. He did his part. He was asked to speak. He spoke, and he said, you know what? I don't want to be around these people anymore, and I don't blame him one bit.
Jake, I want you to think about this, because I can't remember a top 5 pound for pound unified champ who's kind of had it so bad financially. Bernard Hopkins had it pretty bad. When he was kind of coming up, he wasn't making the money that probably deserved. But Kovalev is always making less money. And, he's probably going to have to go to Montreal now and face Adonis Stevenson, and he'll probably get short money again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the sad part, that Kovalev, does deserve better. But, and as much as main event has tried to fight the good fight, and standing by him, it's like there's a lot of steps that could have been taken. I mean, in my opinion, the fight with Adonis Stevenson could have taken place at some point. I place, if you want to put in percentages, I'd say at least 90% of the blame is on Adonis Stevenson, because he could have done a lot more to make the fight happen. But Kovalev was in a position at least twice where he could have made that fight. And I can't imagine at any point he told main events, no, I don't, the fight has to take place on HBO, or I'm not fighting him, or, it has to be on pay-per-view. It's, I don't think he couldn't care less where the fight took place. Like you said, Kovalev is a natural-born fighter. He was going to take that fight. So at some point, main event should just realize our guy's not a draw. Maybe we compromise a little bit just to ensure the fight happens. And at that point, Stevenson still walks away. Let him 100% be the bad guy at that point.
And I was going to say, Kovalev didn't make himself really easy to love either. I think, the biggest difference between him and Golovkin, Golovkin trains over here year-round in California. He's very accessible to the media. He has that smile. He played the whole Mexican card early on. And Kovalev, he's in Russia. He's kind of cold. He's kind of like, when you look at him, he's kind of like ice. So he didn't really make himself too easy to love. And as a player, of course, you enjoy watching him, but on a bigger scale, I'm pretty sure it's tough to market him.
Yeah, absolutely. And the biggest thing with Golovkin, too, and I've been told this even, by Loeffler and his people and by HBO, Golovkin is actually involved in every decision in his career. It's not like he just goes to Big Bear and says, hey, Tom, call me whenever you got a fight. He's 100% invested. He's a smart dude. He comes across as just goofy as hell, but he's a very smart businessman, and that's how, he's helped himself get to this point. I'm not saying Kovalev is any kind of stupid. I'm sure he's a very smart man in his own right. But I don't get the sense that he's been as involved in his career as he needed to be. I think maybe he just kind of let it ride with not the wrong people, but just not with his own enough of his own input.
Yeah.
Getting to this point. Well, that's why he's just been a fighter. You can only say for so long, I fight the guys who they put in front of me, because then you wind up in a situation where where's my paycheck?
Yeah, I kind of want to end it with this. I was talking to Jay Saturday night. I noticed at the post-fight press conference that John David Jackson wasn't there. And I think that also screams volumes to me, that there was a lot of issues in Kovalev's camp. And maybe there weren't, but I think it was really obvious with Team Ward contacting JDB, wanting him to go over there and cross the street. I think it just created a lot of animosity, in the camp. Now, I wasn't able to watch the show, so I'm going to refer back to you and Jay now. Was John David Jackson the lead trainer in that corner? Was he the only voice in that corner that night, or was somebody else in that corner talking?
Jay, you're going to have a better viewpoint on this than I did.
Jay, he's
never going to be the singular voice in that corner, because they have a language barrier. So there's no telling what the corner was telling Kovalev to overrule John David Jackson. He doesn't speak Russian. And in the heat of the moment, they're not going to sit there and speak English slowly to him. They're trying to feed instructions to him quickly. I've read some reports that said that people in the corner overruled John David Jackson and gave their own instructions, counter to what
Lord.
he was telling them to do. So if you know that is the issue and you don't have that cohesiveness in camp, like you look at somebody like I can't think, Robert Garcia, who has a lot of Russian fighters in his stable. They still manage to communicate, and his instructions are imparted to his fighters because he's got Russian people who are with him in camp and does what he says. If they didn't have that respect level, and that's a whole nother Kovalev issue that we're tap dancing around in his likability and lovability factor. He's already got all these issues. Do you really think they're taking John David Jackson seriously?
How about when he said that John David Jackson is a good mitt man? He's good for mitts.
Right.
So that's basically like he sure wash dishes good. Come on now, I'm gonna keep it 100. There was never gonna be that level. After all that stuff kept coming out, I just never believed it, and I just never felt like they had the respect for John David Jackson that he deserved as the lead trainer. He was just there.
I agree. 100%.
They were going to do whatever
and I will
they
say
wanted.
this too. I mean, we're going to see Sergey Kovalev again. I think we'll see him at the top level again. I don't think we're going to see him again with John David Jackson. I mean, because how can they even trust each other at this point? Ward. I mean, you can say what you want. Maybe Team Ward kind of. I don't know if they played liberties with the truth, but there was definitely some smoke there with whatever contact was made between Jackson and Ward or Ward and Jackson. There was something going on, and maybe at some point John David Jackson did ponder that move, and maybe that somehow got back to Kovalev. But what we saw on Saturday night was a guy who eventually just got beat down, regardless of how the fight ended. I mean, he was a beaten fighter at that point, emotionally and physically. So, and the emotional part, that's huge.
Jake, want to get your take on the big announcement last week, which was Mayweather versus McGregor set for August 26th. Right. Do you feel that announcement swallowed Ward Kovalev? Is that what made the big difference in this, promotion? I see people blaming it on that. What do you think?
It's funny. It wasn't even just that announcement. It just seemed like every announcement that could possibly come out about the future of boxing came out last week. It's like we heard about that. We heard teases. Mike Coppinger was first to break about Top Rank's deal. Canelo and Golovkin, they announced their press tour was coming. It's like we heard about everything except Ward Kovalev. It was strange. I don't think
we even got the Bruno Garcia announcement press tour.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, but I will say this. The event was never really going to sell to where they needed it to. But that announcement, I mean, sure. I mean, whatever attention, whatever momentum they were finally gaining, it absolutely came to a grinding halt once that came out. I'm not going to say it affected it, though. They can use it as their scapegoat all they want. But, like you said, RB, I mean, they announced there was 10,000 people in that, and then maybe there was 10,000 people in Las Vegas that night. There was not 10,000 people in the So, and I'm going to say one thing about Mayweather McGregor. And I'm not even going to say anything about that fight. I wrote about it because it's finally official. If the rumored undercard comes true, then here's the silver lining for boxing fans. Gervonta Davis will get a third fight in 2017, all within 8 months. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, because you want these young fighters to stay busy. And a champion fighting for the third time in 8 months that's fantastic for a young fighter's career. And then Badujak potentially fighting Nathan Cleverly. That's a fight worth the price of admission. There's your silver lining. That's all I will ever say about that event. I will be paying attention to Miguel Cotto's fight that night. I'm not even interested in Miguel Cotto's fight, but now I am.
Chado Chosinko says he wants to get on the undercard, too. What you think about that?
Are you serious? Are you serious, Jay?
If Conor McGregor thinks he can box, why not Chado Chosinko?
Right. He said he trained.
Jake, any names for Gervonta Davis on that card? Would he just be defending it or fighting his mandatory? Anything there?
Well, I thought Liam Walsh was his mandatory, so to me he should have a voluntary defense coming up. That was what he told Tevin Farmer, that he had to get his mandatory out the way. So maybe he could fight Tevin Farmer next if Tevin Farmer doesn't want to fight Billy Dibb, which I think he's in negotiations with. But they were on this very show negotiating that fight. Why not make it happen on what's going to be the most visible card of 2017?
Yeah, I do know that Jay-Leon Love is going to be on that. Jay-Leon Love's going to be on that card too.
Oh, well, there you go. Now it's going to be $5 million. We just broke the record.
So you know what? The very best thing about Mayweather McGregor is not only is the city of Las Vegas going to make a ton of money, you know, I was out here going into different restaurants and stores. Everybody is talking about the damn fight, especially when we get to talking about boxing, talking about Mayweather. I went into one high-end store. They're so excited that this fight is happening because he brings in so many people, so much money. Their store does phenomenal every time he fights. So, look, the city's happy, and anybody who's signed a Mayweather promotion, if you are a TMT fighter, you're going to make a little come-up. You're going to get a nice little check, and you're going to get phenomenal exposure if you're on the broadcast. So, you know what? I'm happy for Tank. I'm happy for Badu Jack. You know, whatever other guys in his stable that get that airtime, where they may easily get 5 million people watching them. That's what that fight is good for. It's going to be good for the undercard. It's going to be good for the city. But, no, it's not going to be a competitive matchup.
No, not at all.
They should just go full WrestleMania with it. Why don't they just take it, do the Conor Floyd thing, and just do like WrestleMania and just do like a full spectacle like a circus? Because, I mean, really, this is not a serious fight, a sanctioned fight for a fighter who's never fought a professional boxing fight in his life. Just do a WrestleMania. It would be crazy. You know, people doing the wave. It could be real fun, but here we are.
Floyd has experience in WrestleMania, too, so why not?
Thank you. I mean, if you're going to rate people with a $100 pay-per-view, we know that's going to cost $100, and I ain't buying that. I can tell you right now. Just make it like WrestleMania and make it a full-ass spectacle with fireworks and the whole nine, because that's exactly what it is.
Very good.
Yeah. So, Jake, you mentioned Mike Coppinger last week. He was the first one to kind of break a story about Top Rank's new platform. Bob Arum was on ESPN this morning talking about Pacquiao versus Jeandra. It will be shown on ESPN. It's the first Manny Pacquiao where he hasn't been on pay-per-view since 2005. So, per Mike Coppinger's article and what I've read and from what you can gather, it looks like Top Rank is going to start featuring boxing on ESPN and perhaps ABC, which Disney, the big Disney network, they own both networks. They own ESPN and ABC. Is there any more about this series that you can unveil to us?
Not at this moment. I thought Coppinger did a fantastic job. He deserves all the credit in the world for breaking the story. I mean, he beat Dan Rayfield to the story, and Dan Rayfield works for ESPN.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of got the sense that Dan knew about it, and maybe he was told to stand down, because he did kind of hint towards, this deal being huge. And then you looked at all the networks. It's like, now you're looking back. It's like, well, ABC makes the most sense because they were the only free network to never really get involved with entertainment series. I mean, ESPN did, but, we never saw a fight on ABC. So, and we might not with Arum's deal, but I can't imagine. I mean, if you're going to go all in with this, why not have, 1 and 2 fights on ABC? But my understanding is I think there's going to be 8 shows in 2017, and all of them will be on ESPN. I don't believe any of those will be on ABC. But once it goes into 2018, I think everyone kind of, assesses everything. Maybe we start to get, 1 or 2, fights on free TV. But one main thing, and this is what PBC didn't have, is that ESPN will have quality control over these fights. So that means we're going to see some good fights. I mean, Pacquiao-Horn isn't necessarily a good fight, but the fact that, Manny Pacquiao's not fighting on pay-per-view for the first time in 12 years is a win for boxing.
Praise God.
So, because that's, the biggest name not fighting on pay-per-view, unless
Well, and I think it's really good for their young Olympians, too. The guys like Michael Conlon and Shakur Stevenson and the kid Lopez, they're going to gain really good exposure as young Olympians, young prospects on a network like ESPN. It's also expected that Top Rank is going to roll out this over-the-top network where fans are going to have access to, like, all of their massive fights with this big library over 50 years worth of boxing events that Bob has done where, you're going to have access to these fights to watch, which is kind of cool. It's like a massive library of classic fights.
Yeah, that's a terrific aspect. Fans are that's always been the one thing with HBO. It's like, how come these fights have never been made available, beyond their on-demand shelf life? So, if Top Rank is going to roll out something like that, I mean, this is great. I mean, it's definitely going to be long-term. I can't imagine they're only doing this. Someone theorized that maybe they're doing this just long enough for HBO to figure out what they want to do. I don't believe that. They've got serious investors behind the series. So, it's, Top Rank sounds like they're in it for the long haul. Here's one guy who's going to get who really benefits from this series is Terrence Crawford, especially if the next fight is Julius Ndongo. Now he's fighting on ESPN. I mean, HBO, he did good ratings. ESPN, there's no reason why he shouldn't be pulling in, at least close to 2 million viewers if he's fighting on their flagship station. So Terrence Crawford, he's finally going to get the exposure that his career has long deserved. So that's the one I'm really looking forward to. Vasily Lomachenko, whenever he gets ready to fight. So.
Yeah, and I need to make it clear, after Mike Coppinger put this out there, I did reach out to some of my sources, and I even reached out to some people over at Top Rank, which they are still like really tight-lipped about this, but this is not a time buy.
No.
They do not have a hedge fund to pull from.
Right.
They're not buying this time. I saw some people out there saying, oh, well, the network is, they're paying the network. No, that's not true. And again, there's no big hedge fund or anything. It's not a time buy.
Yeah, everyone's accusing Top Rank and Golden Boy of copying Al Heyman's blueprint. It's like, why would you copy a blueprint that didn't work?
That doesn't work.
I mean, Golden Boy
right.
series on ESPN too. I mean, look at the matchups. I mean, look at the matchup they just had on Saturday night that competed against pay-per-view. I mean, no, it's not a fight that set the world on fire that everyone was going to, take notice if it stood on its own. But it was still a competitive matchup and a damn competitive fight at that. And all of their fights on ESPN too have been very competitive so far. And those aren't the fights you're going to put on if you're coming out of pocket to put on air.
And honestly, do you ever think there would be another hedge fund
No.
stupid enough to even dump millions and millions of dollars into boxing again?
Yeah, even if you thought the next guy was the guy to make it happen. No, I mean, just all the lawsuits that came from Heyman's series. I mean, he's won some, some are still in court. It's just nobody on that type of headache again. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But so no, I mean, yeah, people need to stop thinking that Aram, all they're doing is this. I mean, yeah, they went the route. Heyman opened the door where we could finally get boxing back on TV. I know Main Events tried it with their Fight Night series on NBC Sports Network and some on NBC, but Heyman took it to another level. So now that gives Bob Arum said Heyman tried it, he failed, but he didn't ruin the sport. So he saw everything that he did wrong, and he can capitalize on that. That's how you succeed in business. You learn from the failures that happen, and then you eventually succeed. So, and that's what Top Rank has done for 50 years.
Yep. Well, sounds good. I give everyone the best out. When they rolled out PBC, I was excited. So I'm excited about this too. Let's just hook up really, really well. Jake Donovan, thank you so much for joining us on the Punch and Show and always giving us your take. We're going to let you go. We're going to wrap up with some In Case You Missed It and some Word on the Curb. Have a wonderful day, Jake. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, RB Jae. Always a pleasure.
For all the latest news, interviews, and boxing schedules, visit BoxingInsider.com, providing readers with everything from the latest fight schedules to interviews with your favorite boxers. BoxingInsider.com has you covered from top to bottom. BoxingInsider.com is looking for new writers. Think you have what it takes to join the team? Submit your articles to our team at info@BoxingInsider.com. Visit BoxingInsider.com today, the only boxing website where you become the fifth man in the corner. Any vehicle, any age, any mileage. With Nationwide Auto Warranties, you will stop paying unexpected costly repair bills and let an extended auto warranty pay. Go to nationwideautowarranties.com for an instant email quote or call 1-866-352-4999 for a free, no-obligation phone quote. So stop paying and let Nationwide Auto Warranties get you your coverage today. Again, that number is 1-866-352-4999 or visit nationwideautowarranties.com.
Good morning, and we are back. This is the Morning Punch and Show with RB and Jae. We are going to jump into some In Case You Missed It topics before we close out the rest of the show. In case you missed it, actually happening right now, Broner versus Garcia has been announced at the Barclays Center for July 29th. The New York press conference is happening right now while we are on the air. There will be a second one here in Los Angeles tomorrow. I'll be there for the sights and sounds and festivities, so make sure you check back with me for some video. I'm going to do some interviews for Broner Garcia. Also, in case you missed it, Chocolatito versus Rungvisai, Carlos Cuadras versus Estrada, and Inoue versus Nieves finalized for September 9th on HBO. That's a great card. That's a great card.
I need that to land in your city so I can come crash on your floor. That card has me so excited. They actually dubbed the card Superfly. Cool name for that card because they're all, obviously little guys and flyweights. Jay, that needs to land in LA.
Yeah, I'm not sure where the debate is. Where else would you put that? That's a bomb card. Put it at the StubHub. Let us all get all cooked up and burning up in the StubHub and freezing at night. But it's definitely a fight worthy of that venue. So stay tuned since we find out the final resting place for that one. We'll let you know. So make sure you're following RB and myself. Also, in case you missed it, Claressa Shields picked up another win, a version of the super middleweight title by defeating Sydney LeBlanc for the WBC silver title. A dominant fight for her as expected. A full title shot could be on the horizon for her, and it's been announced by the Detroit Free Press that she'll be fighting again on August 4th as part of a Showtime telecast with no opponent named at this time.
Really?
She's moving it on along.
When did you say August 4th?
August 4th. Yeah, I did a quick search on her since she fought over the last week just to see if there was any other updates. So, yeah, they're reporting that she could be back in the ring on August 4th. So congratulations to Claressa Shields. Also, in case you missed it, the heavyweight bout between Alexander PED's Povetkin and Andrei Rudenko is now sanctioned for the WBO International Championship. The WBO confirms that the international title is at stake. A WBO press officer stated, the fight has been set to take place July 1st in Moscow, Russia. Yeah, we'll just see about the drug testing for that one. We'll see how that plays out. You know, Mr. PEDs. But anyway, also, in case you missed it, a little bit of off-brand news. I don't know. I just kind of stumbled on this by accident. It looks like Tim Bradley and Joel Diaz will be in the same house at the same time for the first time in a long time at a small venue. So they're probably going to have to lay eyes on each other at some point. Tim Bradley will be has a fighter fighting on a card, and Joel Diaz also has a fighter on the same card on June 24th called the World Fighting Championship. According to the Desert Sun, Diaz will be in the corner of local prospect Javier Padilla, and Bradley will be in the corner of a local guy named Dominic Serna, who debuted with a win on April 28th in Burbank. So hopefully these guys, I'm sure, I mean, they're both classy guys. I don't think they're going to go fisticuffs as soon as they see each other, but hopefully, you know, they can shake hands and say God bless and keep it pushing. So they'll be in the house together. That should be interesting. And one last thing for in case you missed it news. Okay, so McGregor versus Mayweather. So, you know, when Mayweather was fighting Pacquiao, you know, the joke was going around that people were going to use their tax return money to try to get tickets to this fight. Well, first of all, the fight's in August, so there's no tax return then, but just to get in the door, the word out there is just to get in the door for the fight, in the nosebleeds, you're going to come off of $1,000 to $1,500 for one ticket. And I've been seeing some stories that ringside seats could be somewhere in the neighborhood of, are you ready? 100 racks. 100,000. Please, what the hell? What the hell? I could get out of my debt, remodel my house, buy a new car, a nice car, and put some money away from my baby for college with one ticket to this bullshit. RB, you going? You ringside for the fight?
Now, you know, I kind of thought about getting first row for 100,000, but nah.
That's just not good enough.
Not doing. No.
100 racks. I want to work the corner. I want somebody to fly me out on a jet. I want my media gift to be a new car.
Yeah.
I want unlimited buffet and alcohol for a full week. I want to stay in the presidential suite. I want to stay in the palms in the room with the hot tub for 100 racks. And
you know what? And we're kind of making fun of this and everything, but you know what? It's going to sell out. There's going to be people that are going to pay $100,000 to sit in the front row. Rows 2 through 5, if you want to sit in rows 2 through 5, it's $50,000 per ticket. It's going to be sold out. People are going to pay that too. So that's what I mean by this is going to be a very lucrative fight. It will sell out, but it almost feels like a spectacle. You know what I mean? Like, is this really a boxing event or is this a spectacle? But, you know, we all know it's a money grab. What fighter wouldn't go grab $400 million if it was just sitting there?
I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah.
We got to figure out, man, we need to stand outside of the joint. We ought to stand out there and sell like some water or something. I'm selling water for $10 a bottle.
Yeah, I actually reached out to a couple different commissions across the country, different states, and I won't say who, but I have relationships with them. And I said, would you guys have sanctioned this fight with a 49-0 fighter versus a pro debut? Now, they all said no, but, money talks. So I can only take that with a grain of salt. So let's just say they wanted to put this fight in Arizona. Do you think the Arizona Commission would sanction this? They might be like, nah, that's unethical. We would never do that. But when you're talking about bringing millions and millions and millions of dollars into a city, and it's real hard to, reject that type of fight. But every other commission I did reach out to said absolutely not. We would not have sanctioned that fight.
They need to go full WrestleMania, call it what it is. Well, hey, at least all this tax and sales tax money, they're going to help. It's going to help finance this new Raiders stadium they got to build out there. Food for thought.
Yeah.
Food for thought.
Well, look,
Vegas is about to get paid.
Jay, we have 5 minutes left. Why don't we take one last really quick commercial break, and then we're going to come back, dish the word on the curb, and wrap up.
Let's do it.
Because the right gift can speak volumes. For home, for fragrance, for great body products, think for Alma.com, offering you the finest products for any and every occasion you can imagine. Say you care the right way and search through our catalog of more than 800 products, from tasteful jewelry to great leather goods. So remember, when you think gifts for any occasion, think for Alma.com.
And I like it. All right, we are back.
Yeah, word on the curb. So a couple weeks ago, we mentioned that Bryant Jennings was out there looking for a new promoter, and we had told you guys that he was talking to Top Rank really heavy, and that it looks like that was going to happen. Well, this morning it was made official by Bryant Jennings himself that he has signed with Top Rank.
Oh, that's really, you know what? I'm happy for the guy. He's been trying to get back into action for quite a while. He's been going over to Russia, being a sparring partner, and, still living that vegan life. Now he can go over to Top Rank and have a home and get some fights. So good for him. Shout out to the crew. I'm going to hit up Poncha and see if she's ready to go vegan.
Yeah. When you think about, okay, who's he going to fight, expect to see Brian Jennings versus Joseph Parker. I mean, that's what that whole deal is about. And Top Rank needs someone to fight Parker. That's probably what's going to happen. So more word on the curb is, I'm told that Adrian Broner is filming a new reality show, and it's based on the ladies of boxing, like and girlfriends. And so, I got a problem with this. It's probably going to be super ratchet. And, for years I've been trying to work on projects like this. So I'm going to find out more details. I don't know if a network has picked it up or not yet, but I know that some other boxers are involved. And he's got camera crews out there, and they're following around, the girlfriends and the wives of Bandcamp and whoever else, Can you imagine?
They have wives? They got some wives out there. I'm not trying to be a troll. We got 3. I'm gonna keep my little stuff here brief. But who really is on this? Miss Louie Bags. It's gonna look like Ronnie and Sam from Jersey Shore, because they're gonna be fighting every day. So let
me tell you something. If my man leaked a sex tape, and he's in strip clubs eating other strippers out on camera, you think I'm going to go on a show called The Girlfriends of Boxers or whatever the hell it is? You think I'm going to stand that? Girl. Anyway, I expect lots of ratchetness. I don't know what network it would even land on. But here's the real word on the curb. You guys got to grab your popcorn, buckle up, fasten your seatbelt. Word on the curb is that Ward Kovalev fight was probably the last show for Rock Nation. Now, Andre Ward did win, so you know what? They're probably feeling really excited, like they could really do this again. But they really can't, because they're so much in the red. His guarantees were so high, there's no way they can make that money back. They were paying Miguel Cotto buku amounts of money when he was fighting for them, and they were not able to recoup that either. Jay-Z's not in the business of losing money. I don't care how much money you have, you don't want to lose money. So this whole boxing thing really is not working for them. Their publicity team has put in their resignation. They're done. So you look at what fighters they still have under contract. Rigondeaux, Luis Cuba Arias, which I spoke to somebody who works with him this weekend, and they're like, man, he's like, we trying to do something different. Like, you could tell they're all frustrated. Nobody's happened. But here's the word on the curb, is that Andre Ward, he fulfilled his contract with Roc Nation. So technically, he is free to go to another promoter. Word on the curb is Bob Arum wants to sign him. And he is really serious about signing him to Top Rank. And Andre Ward is very interested in signing with Top Rank as well. And when you think of like, well, why? Why would they do that? Well, Top Rank has this new platform. They're going to get shows on ESPN, ESPN Deportes, ABC, which Disney owns these networks. They've got a huge platform right now. They need leaders. They need superstars. So Bob Arum was on ESPN this morning, and he pretty much solidified my word on the curb because he was raving about Andre Ward on ESPN this morning. He's a terrific fighter. He's a great man. He's a man of God. He's a man of his family. You know, he's just got to be promoted right, the way that we promoted Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. That's what Andre Ward, I mean, he was pretty much selling himself and selling Andre Ward to the millions of people who were watching ESPN this morning. So that pretty much, you know, solidified for me that my word on the curb is pretty legit, that Top Rank wants Andre Ward.
You know what? I like that word on the curb. And, well, I mean, I like all your word on the curb. But, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. We've got Shakur over on Top Rank, who he is a part manager, advisor. I forgot exactly what his role is for Shakur. Why not keep the money in the house every time Shakur fights, co-promoted through Andre Ward Promotions like he did with this fight? So you get the money on the front and you get the money on the back for you, for your fighter. Hey, I ain't mad. I'm not mad at you, Andre Ward. Get your dough. We'll see how long it lasts. He must not plan on fighting Anthony Joshua anytime in the near future if he signs with Top Rank, because Joshua fighting on Showtime. So
right. Well, that's all I got, Jay. If you want the fight schedule, and then we will wrap up.
All right. It's a real shorty this week. Following the pay-per-view, you know, the action drops off a little bit. So the only real fights that are on TV that we'll see here stateside, there's local fights going on in Philly, and I think there's a fight going on out here. Devin Haney is fighting out here somewhere in Cali, or I don't remember where. But anyway, on June 20th from Las Vegas, PBC on Fox Sports 1, Eddie Ramirez versus Eric Bonet, with also Dennis Galarza versus Omar Tienda and Xavier Martinez versus Prince Smalls over in Las Vegas. And also on the 24th, CBS Sportsnet, Derek Rossi versus Carlos Negron and Enrique Collazo versus Steven Martinez. And that is all for the week fight schedule. There might be a fight if my neighbors are still out here wilding. I'll live stream that one on Facebook. But yes, that's the weekend fight schedule.
All right. Well, let's see. I think that's it. Our show today was brought to you by NationwideAutoWarranties.com, ForAma.com, and TheBoxingInsider.com. Make sure you check them out. We appreciate you listening today. We'll be back next Monday morning from 8 to 9. It's the Morning Punch Show. Have a great day.